Just so you know, guys, a big warning here. We figured that most of the people who see this movie would have read the comics, and this will be a spoiler-filled review.
Batman the Killing Joke, directed by Sam Liu, and is based on the comic book by Alan Moore and Brian Bolland. What did you think about it?
I was actually pretty disappointed with this movie quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, I actually was too. The comic book I feel is like a perfect. I haven't read that many comics. I've only read a couple of Deadpool comics and Civil War and a couple of others, but I have read The Killing Joke, and I think it's one of the most perfect comic books I've ever read. And I know a lot of people like it.
If I had a grade, like if we were going to be grading the comic book, I'd probably give the comic book like an A+.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I would definitely give the comic book A+. But I feel like the movie itself. Okay, first of all, the first 20 minutes of the movie is stuff that's not in the comic book, which I'm not. It didn't really bother me that much.
Yeah, because obviously if they made a movie just based off the comic book purely, it'd be like 20 or 30 minutes, not very long at all.
Right. Yeah. But they didn't try like at all to like connect it to the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Like there's just like a split in the middle. Well, not really the middle, but like split between the two storylines. And like you were saying, it felt like two completely different movies that you were watching.
Yeah, because the beginning, what it is, it's a story about Barbara Gordon, and she is Batgirl in the very beginning.
And she's voiced by Tara Strong.
Yes, who we actually met.
Yeah.
And so what it is she's kind of mad, and I kind of feel like this. Like I kind of feel like this is slightly copying. I think it was Red Hood.
Oh yeah.
Which is about Robin being mad because Batman won't let him do stuff because he's kind of worried about his dangerous form.
Yeah.
Which is this because Batman's worried about Batgirl. Because some of the things he's doing is dangerous and he doesn't want her to get hurt.
Right.
Okay? And she doesn't like that. And she doesn't take it very well. But, and so they have that scene in there. They have that whole part. And it's like 20, 25 minutes somewhere around there. And then after that whole part's over, they randomly switch over to exactly word per word of the comic book, The Killing Joke. And it just, there was no transition. It was just like they had that whole big chunk of 20 minutes and then it turned dark and then switched over.
Yeah. And like literally the only line that that connected the two where Barbara Gordon says, it was like a voiceover, and she said something like, "But none of this would matter in a week later from now." And that's literally the only line that connects the two parts of the movies.
Mm-hmm.
But
it didn't really make any sense.
And the animation for it is, I thought it was it looked a little cheaply made. It didn't, like some of the movements. I mean, some of it was actually really good. Like, there's some shots of like the Joker that looked really nice, but like sometimes when a character would be moving or walking or running, it just looked a little cheaply made.
Yeah, and again with the beginning. The story itself at the very beginning, was I did not feel that invested in it.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't that like I didn't mind them going like more than the comic book, but I didn't. I wasn't really that interested in it. And the thing with connecting it, right after the movie, I actually thought of a way they could have connected it. And I don't want to go too far into it right now, but basically I'm saying that Robin was dead by this point because they showed a picture of Robin. You could see him in the background, and Joker had killed him, and so they could have talked about how he could have explained to Batgirl, okay, this is why I don't want you to do this because I had a guy who got killed by this Joker guy, and that's why I don't. And so maybe that brought up a memory in his mind, and then it made him go talk to the Joker, and that's what started The Killing Joke.
Right.
That
would have been nice.
Yeah, and maybe not perfectly, maybe not that exactly, but just something.
Right.
Something to actually have these two stories in the movie,
Yeah, and like the actual ending of the movie, I don't know if y'all have read The Killing Joke, which I'm sure a lot of people have, but like the ending, like it's sort of like mysterious on whether Batman killed the Joker or not, whether the Joker finally pushed Batman to the limit. And it's sort of like, they sort of brought up that, like in the beginning of the movie, that wasn't part of the comic book, they sort of like talking about, like you're saying, they're talking about the dark side, this abyss that you fall into with doing this line of work. They sort of like hinted at like building up the ending of the movie,
Yeah.
but they never really like connected it. Like they just like threw it wasn't really like strong enough to where it connected it.
Yeah. You know, it almost feels like when you read by a comic and you read one story and the next story has nothing to do with
Oh
it.
yeah.
You know?
Which is the Killing Joke actually.
Yeah.
Is.
So, but yeah. And also the movie itself. Now let's get to the actual part where the comic book part. You know, the comic book part. It was like almost word. It was pretty much word for word.
Yeah, which isn't a problem. Like we said, that we love the comic book, and it was cool seeing live action. Well, not live action, but like an actual movie. But I just felt like nothing against Mark Hamill or Kevin Conroy or any of the other voice actors. But like I just felt like some of the lines just weren't like delivered like properly.
Yeah.
And some of the scenes, especially the flashback when they would flash back to like the origin of the Joker. There's some scenes when I was reading the comic book that it actually felt like sort of sad. Like like I didn't cry, but I felt like crying because like some of the scenes were sort of sad. But in the movie, it's like they didn't really do it properly. I didn't feel the same emotions.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like it was like especially the part in the book whenever Joker shoots Barbara Gordon, and whenever you see Jim Gordon going through that ride and seeing all the pictures of his daughter naked and shot, and it has this huge impact on you.
Right.
Like this Joker, like you know the Joker's mean obviously, but you watch this like, oh my goodness, like it's awful.
Right.
But when you watch the movie, like you're saying, like you just for some reason it made me not really care.
Right.
Like it didn't deliver any of that right to me. Now the movie itself wasn't anything horrible per se. It's still worth the watch because if you like the Killing Joke comic book, it's still worth the watch. Don't get me wrong, you know. But it's just they could have done a lot more with it.
Yeah, and another point that I want to bring up, it's not really a bad point. It's not a bad point at all. But even reading the Killing Joke, and after seeing the movie especially, the story is a lot like The Dark Knight, which I love. The Dark Knight is probably by far one of my favorite movies, and I know the comic was written before it. It's not a bad thing. It's just pretty cool, like the similarities between it. Even the part where the Joker in the Killing Joke shoots Barbara Gordon, and she asks, "Why are you doing this?" And he's like, "To prove a point."
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And it's sort of similar to where Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight says that it's not about the money; it's about proving a point.
Mm-hmm.
And his whole goal and the Killing Joke sort of mirrors what his plans are in The Dark Knight, which is pretty cool and how similar they are.
Another point one thing I want to bring up is you know, we have a lot of bad things about this movie. This movie by far, it's not a terrible movie. The one thing that I love from the scene of him going into the ride on the roller, I don't want to say roller coaster, it wasn't really a roller coaster, but like kind of the ride.
Right,
where
yeah.
Jim Gordon goes on the ride. To the end of the movie was actually really good.
Yeah.
Those were actually really good. There was a fight scene between Batman and Robin that was really well portrayed, like in the comics. You know, the very ending, the very ending was really well done. And some other points we kind of want to bring up is whenever they go back in time to whenever the Joker wasn't the Joker yet, you know, those were a little awkward. Those scenes were a little awkward.
Yeah, and nothing against Mark Hamill because I think he is a perfect voice for the Joker. But when they went back in time, I know they couldn't really choose another voice actor because it sounded way too different. But like the flashbacks were supposed to be like the show of the Joker, like before he became evil, before he when he was still nice, just a regular guy. But like Mark Hamill's voice was just a little too rough to actually feel for the person. I don't know. I know they couldn't pick someone else, but
and another thing I want to bring up, which is a pretty big deal, I would say, is whenever he whenever he drops into the atomic waste, the nuclear stuff or whatever,
right.
And then he comes in the water, and then he's kind of like upset, and then he sees himself in the water, his reflection, and then he goes so crazy because he goes insane because of what he looks like. In the comic book, that was pretty impactful.
Yeah, because he looked at his reflection. Like they tried to do that in the movie to where he looked at the reflection, but the audience itself couldn't see it.
And it was only maybe 2 or 3 seconds. It wasn't that much at all. Like he literally, it almost like he looked in the water, and then automatically he
Started
started becoming
laughing.
insane. There was no like kind of ease into it. There was no transition. It was just like automatically. A lot of this movie does. It seems like a lot of this movie does is kind of just quickly,
Yeah.
no transitions.
Yeah, and like no, like just the delivery was what like bothered me the most about a lot of this movie.
Mhm.
Um,
But yeah, overall, it wasn't a bad movie though. So go ahead and check it out. It comes out on DVD in August, so go ahead and check that out. Another thing I want to say is I've been reading a lot here lately about people getting mad about the scene where Batman and Batgirl have sex, and it's kind of ridiculous to get mad at that scene.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I hate to tell everybody this, but Batgirl, she went between Robin and Batman all the time. Again,
Yeah.
the comic books and
Yeah, and like that scene itself in the movie, I didn't really have a problem with it. It just felt like so out of place. Like,
he really
it
was
just-
out of place. Like to me, yeah, I didn't have a problem with it happening, but yeah, it was just kind of random and all
Yeah,
of a
and
sudden.
there was like no like I don't know.
Yeah.
Just didn't really fit in with
Yeah,
the rest of
so
it.
that's probably my biggest issue with this movie, which I'll probably summarize this as one big issue, is that there was no connection between anything between a lot of the things in this movie.
Between the two storylines.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things in this movie that need to connect something more. With them sleeping together, with the Joker turning insane, with the two storylines. The only thing that actually makes the most sense in this movie is the actual part where they go into the comics. And so that's the best part. That's the best thing I have to say about this movie is the comic portion of that movie, the part. And the best thing I have to say is the very end part of this comic, of the whole movie.
Okay, so overall, like I said, if we were grading the comic book, I would give it an A+ because I think it's just a perfect. It's a dark, gritty comic, and actually, like it's like pretty deep. And so I give it an A+. But the movie, I felt like there's a little problems that they didn't really do properly. So I give it a B.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a bit lower, and I'm gonna go ahead and give this movie a C+. Okay, I was actually pretty highly disappointed about this movie. It was not awful, not terrible by any means. Some people have this thing where they, especially with comic book movies, they're like, oh, it seems like you either have to hate this movie and you just think it's horrible, or you think it's amazing. It seems like there's only two options when it comes to comic book movies. But, I'm not going to go with that. I'm going to give it a C+. I think that's what it deserves. Alright guys, well thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, interested in this video, interested in what we have, subscribe to us right below, and also check out our channel. We have some other reviews now.
Yeah, and we also have a Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The Twitter and Instagram are both at 2awesomemen. The Facebook is also 2awesomemen.
Yeah, don't forget it's number 2, not the word 2.
Right.
And yeah, so thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any suggestions on any movies that we should watch, I'm talking any movies we should watch, comment below, and we'll love to watch those and review them. So thank you so much, and we will see you later.